Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope you're having a good day. So we're gonna go ahead and hop on another project with Project Slate here. So what's going on is, I'm gonna flip you around real quick. So I've been having a cold start issue for a while now with this truck. It's nothing too crazy. It just takes a while when it's cold, obviously. It'll crank over for a while. Usually it'll catch pretty quick and then stop, crank some more, and then eventually fire up. So my original suspicions were I had a bad heater relay, because most trucks use glow plugs. You turn it on, it assists with starting and everything. This one does not. It uses this heater grid right here, and that is how this truck starts up. However, I found out after more looking into it, they don't really take effect until it's about below 65 degrees. So very unlikely that was my problem. The old one was roasted. I'll have a video posted up there if you want to check it out. But that's done. So that wasn't the issue. Common issues on these trucks are the lift pump. This one has an upgraded one. It's a Air Dog. I don't know exactly if it's a 150 or what. It is upgraded. I did the filter, got a couple more PSI out of it, but I know it has plenty of fuel pressure. It has a relay right there, actually, to make sure that it cuts the lift pump off when it's cranking, to make sure that the VP44 is happy when it's cranking. So it's not that. That's a known issue as well. So it's not the VP44 because almost all the time if it's a VP44, you have hot start issues because the computer in there will get fried and it has problems. So I'm pretty sure it's not the VP44. That leads me to believe I have a fuel leak somewhere. So what happens is, the way the hard lines work, you have a low pressure side, which is right there, that goes into the pump, and then you have a high pressure side here. So a few common areas, if you're getting air in the lines, which is what I think is happening, as you crank it over, it has to work all that air out before it'll fire. And I honestly think that is my problem. Why it catches for a second is there's a little fuel left over, and then it has to work air out of the lines. So that's what we're going to focus on today. If it's not this, we'll continue on the road of troubleshooting, but these are pretty cheap. So right here we have some little O-ring gaskets. So these are a plastic outer gasket with a rubber interior gasket. And what these are for is what is called a Banjo bolt, which looks just like that right there, except this one is on the back of the head. Now, underneath, I have a little bit of clear substance leaking down. I'm fairly confident it's diesel, however, it doesn't smell like diesel. And when I reached my hand back there, it came back black, which is going to tell me that there's probably some form of fuel leak. I reached back there with a wrench to tighten everything up, and it did have a little bit of looseness to it. But this truck has about 214,000 miles on it, which is plenty of time for something as simple as a little rubber to go bad. So we're going to go ahead and replace that. And essentially what happens is if air gets into the lines, it'll eventually bleed out and it cause an air gap that will make it difficult to start. So that's my plan. Anyway, the way we're going to do this, I don't really have a good way to film this, so this is going to kind of be an update because the bolt I'm getting to is literally right here on the back side of the head, which is not fun. So I went ahead and got a wrench set real quick. Pretty much this is all we're going to need, allegedly. And I'm probably going to drop a bunch of pieces. It's going to suck, but Shelby's back up and running, so worst case, I can go ahead and leave this truck down for a bit. Anyway, guys, that's kind of what we're doing today. A few more common issues to hit real quick before we go. The starter can start going out, which will cause it to start slower. That will prevent fuel pressure from building up as quickly. I don't think that's the issue, but it is a possibility. Batteries are about 4 years old now, so they could also be going out, causing a slower crank. It's hard to tell when you're just cranking it, but it is known to cause problems. So batteries and starter are potential issues. I really think it's a fuel problem, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and hop on here. After the truck's been running, even for a few seconds, I can turn it off, turn it right back on, absolutely no problems. It's just that initial cold start. It also doesn't blow any extra smoke, so I don't think it's a leaking injector. However, it is possible it could be a loose injector or an O-ring. That's another possibility. But right now, this is the easiest thing. Well, not easiest thing, but this is the cheapest thing. It was like $7 for these little guys. And got them from Diesel Performance. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get wrenching. I'll catch back up with you guys after I get it off. All right, guys, so I went ahead and got it out. So here's the old one. This is the one that faces the engine block. So as you can see, it's a two-piece design. Rubber is super hard, so I would not be surprised if this is leaking at all. And then here's the back side. So you can see all that crud built up around it. It's usually a pretty good sign that it was leaking at some point, or is. Hopefully this is the problem. But if you were all wondering how a Banjo bolt works, is that hole right there lets fuel, basically it bolts right into the fuel line long ways. and it comes out those spots right there. It goes into a fitting like that right there, which is the other side of this line. So the way this line works is it tees way back in there and comes off. So I literally had to do a plank and a little stool here, stood up, just bloop, and so I could reach both hands back there because this thing was not coming off, letting it out. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do real quick is throw on a new washer on here, clean up the surfaces the best I can. I have a rag out here, basically wipe everything down. Hopefully it'll be pretty good, and then it's time to bolt this down. This doesn't get torqued down super hard. I'm just gonna do it hand tight until I can't really crank it anymore by hand, and I can barely get any leverage back there, so I'm gonna guess maybe at most 25 foot-pounds, but it's probably gonna be way less than that. So yeah, here we are. Hopefully this is our problem child. Not too much fuel leaked out. There's no puddle on the ground or anything, so there really wasn't much against this bolt. So maybe I haven't started in a couple days. Maybe this is the problem. Who knows, guys? We'll find out later this video. Well, you guys will. I won't know for a couple days. All right, well, just got her back together. Pretty simple job. Hopefully these are the problem. I'm gonna go ahead and crank it for a while off the camera and just see if I can get it to start, or if I just killed my truck by unpriming the fuel system and I gotta figure out some more bull crap to do. So let's give her a shot. I'll come back to you if it starts up or if it doesn't start up. All right, so after a good probably 30 seconds, almost a minute worth of cranking and not cranking, started up, which is good. As you can see, we got fuel pressure, maybe. So that's the that's not the actual inline pump, but see how she does. Just kind of get some revs going. Something I forgot to show you guys while it's warming up. Check that out. So my front tire decided to pop itself, as you can see right there. It actually blew out the other day. It wasn't on the car when it blew out. I took it off before this happened. But on my way out, I felt a lump. I was like, that's weird. And yeah, so don't trust your tire tread. This had the most tread on it out of all the tires on here. But obviously it was probably a used or just a very old tire that someone threw on, and yeah, that happened. So glad that didn't happen. I got new tires on the way for the front, doing both of them. The rears are good enough for now, but yeah, check that out. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off, see how it starts up real quick. Alright, so we probably got all the air out of the system. That's what it's supposed to do. Only way to tell if it has a problem is to come back to it in a couple hours and see if we have any issues. So that's what I'm gonna do. So as you can see, it is now a couple days later. Rained a little bit. I got some new front tires put on the truck. So I wanted to make sure I drove it around a little bit before I went ahead and did this part of the video, just to see if maybe there's some air in the lines still, but I'm still having the same problem. So if I flip my fuel, or my switch backwards, I actually get my fuel pump going on. As you can see, it's right at 15. Sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower, but it's kind of where it's hanging out at for right now. So, go ahead and wait to start. Make sure we're good. That was a little rougher than normal, but you can see we're still having the same problem. That actually took a lot longer than normal. Check gauges because it drops the voltage down. Once the voltage comes back up, it goes away. Yeah, so that was actually worse than normal. I've been driving around today, so obviously that wasn't the problem. But I mean, it is what it is. So this isn't going to be like an actual episode. Just kind of stuff I'm working out right now. Outstanding headliner. Yeah, guys, that's kind of what's going on with the truck right now. It's really just a cold start issue. I haven't had any problems once it's warm or I'm actually driving it around or anything like that. So I need to do a couple of things before I go ahead and do anything else. I do want to get the codes checked, which actually, I might do that right now in all honesty and let you know what it comes back as. So I need to get the codes checked to see if there's anything pending. might be a VP44. Other than that, there could also be some things triggering those. I don't know. I'm kind of new to this. So if it is, whatever, at least I'll know. Other than that, it could also be injectors. The truck has 216,000 miles on it. They could be going out. It could be a O-ring to the injector leaking or letting fuel return before it's supposed to. It also could be a check valve, which comes off the side of the VP44, and which is the high pressure fuel pump. So as fuel goes up, this check valve is supposed to keep at least around 12 to 13 pounds of pressure in the high side, and just leave it there. So when the truck starts up, it's fully primed. If that gets stuck open, debris, it's old, then it can let some of that pressure bleed out and let a little bit of air in there. It could also be my problem. So I'm starting to think that that could be it as well. As you can tell, the truck did try and catch for a second, and then it just took a while to start, which I believe is air in the lines. I really think that's what's happening. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go and get these codes checked to see if there's anything on this truck. I have a scan gauge right there. However, it does not actually read codes off this truck. I don't know why, so it is what it is. But that's what we're gonna go ahead and do next. And if nothing else, I don't know. But this isn't gonna be, as I said, an episode. This is just kind of me troubleshooting. Alrighty guys, so just to recap real quick, went ahead and got the codes read just to see if there's anything pending. I had it was a P01693 or something like that. And basically all that means is that there's a companion code inside the ECM that I could not see. So, hang on. So upon looking into that, the code that came back was a P0230, which all that means is that the factory lift pump is not getting the right voltage, or the wire that goes to the factory lift pump. Perfectly fine. There is no lift pump in this truck from the factory in the tank anymore. It's relocated from the engine bay to a to an Airdoc 150, and then the in-tank pump slash hose or whatever was changed out for a sump design that hangs out at the bottom of the tank. So basically nothing there, nothing code-wise, which is good. I was very concerned that I was going to get a code P0216, meaning the VP44 has a bad timing issue. So now that I know that's not the case, I'm going to continue looking into my issue. I still think it's an air getting in fuel line issue. So the next thing I want to look at is the bypass valve, which, like I was saying earlier, it's supposed to open at 14 psi, and anything less than that stay closed. So I think what's happening is I think there might be some debris stuck in it, or maybe it's just old and it's opening up early. Pretty easy to test. I pull it off, take it to an air compressor, set the air compressing hose to less than 14 psi, and it shouldn't open. Get to 14 or a little bit around there, and it should open up. So that's, I think, is going to be the next step. After that, I think I might start looking towards injectors. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching. Sorry, nothing crazy. I'm just kind of trying to diagnose this, and we'll see what's going on. But anyway, I appreciate it. Stand by for the next actual episode of this truck, and we're going to be redoing the front steering. Well, the front, the only steering in this truck. We're going to redo the all that fun stuff. So I'll see you in the next one, guys, and I appreciate you watching. Take it easy.